Hey you guys, it's C. Simone, and I wanted to record a video for you guys. As you know, this is a pretty rough time in the world right now, so I figured I'd make this video. Maybe you guys will get a good laugh at this story, who knows, or at least find it entertaining. So if you would like to know why I fired my wedding planner, please keep watching. All right, so some quick backstory. I got engaged in January of 2019, and ever since then I started planning my wedding. I'm a pretty organized person and I love to plan things. And so I think I get that by default because my mom is a planner and she used to plan weddings. So I was like, okay, I have my mom or whatever to kind of lean on for a lot of this because it's her area of expertise. So I really wasn't too worried about having a planner. Now, where the issue came in was that I did need a coordinator. So that's just basically someone who will either facilitate the wedding on the day, or you could kind of have them start like 3 months out from the wedding and they'll start kind of like confirming everything with your vendors, like do a little bit of planning and then almost more so like clean up, like making sure all the details are checked off, that you're good to go, and then they actually run the wedding the day of so that nothing goes like, unchecked. So, sorry, I have to yawn, of course. Momentary pause. I'm back. So, here's what happened. My mom, as I said, she has experience planning weddings and events. So she had decided that she would reach out to her contacts to see if anybody would be able to be my coordinator. So she reached out to one of her, associates or whatever, and they agreed to help us out or whatever. So it's okay, cool. So immediately things kind of weren't going so well. So the first kind of red flag was like, I felt like the person that we were dealing with was confused about their role. Like they didn't know if they were planning or if they were coordinating, even though I felt like I made it pretty clear that I needed more of a coordinator and less of a planner because I already know what it is that I want and what I like. And so I didn't really need help figuring that out per se. But I felt like they wanted to be way more involved than necessary. Anyways, that's not the juicy part, so I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about that. So let's just fast forward and get straight to the tea, okay? So at one point it was about finding caterers, and the coordinator person, I am not revealing any names for privacy reasons, but the coordinator person was like, oh, I know a really good caterer, would you like to do a tasting with them? So I was like, okay, sure. My mom also knew a really good caterer, so I set up 2 tastings. I didn't want to do more than 2 tastings because you have to pay for these tastings. Some people don't know that, and it's not cheap. So I'm talking like a tasting could cost you easily $100, $150, maybe even $200, depending on who you're dealing with. Usually if you decide to go with that caterer, they will take that money off of your final balance. But if you don't, then you just have to pay that money. So I'm not trying to spend $400 or $500 finding a caterer. So basically 2 caterers is what I narrowed it down to. That's all I was going to do. So we started out with the coordinator's caterer. So the food was okay. Some dishes were better than others. I was not blown away at all. I felt like it was just decent-ish food, but nothing to brag about. But I was like, well, let's see how the other caterer does. So the coordinator was not with us when we tried the other caterer. It was just me, my mom, and my sister. So when we went to the second caterer, from the very first dish that we tried, we were like, this is good. So then as the day progressed and we tried more food, it was like everything was so good. Like, y'all, we did not even there was nothing that we disliked. In fact, it was so good to the point where it was hard to decide what would actually be on the final menu. Like, that's just how good this guy's food was. And so I was like, man, this is got myself in a pickle because this is really good. So let's fast forward some more because I don't want to bore you guys here. I promise it gets real interesting. So a couple weeks go by and the coordinator reaches out to me and says, and I have the receipts, so let me get my laptop. Let's get that here. Okay, push up my glasses. Okay, so she said, hey, just wondering if you've touched base with the caterer this week to let him know if you made a decision. I actually need to give him a call for someone else and wanted to be prepared if he asked about you. First of all, I don't believe that there was any call for someone else, but that's neither here nor there. I think she just wanted to be nosy and find out if I had, chosen her caterer or somebody else. I said, hey, glad you reminded me because I forgot to email him back. I plan to make a decision by the end of next week. I'll shoot him an email tonight. So she says, you mentioned you were down to 2 caterers. Who was the other one? And what about the 2 of them do you like the most? Did you taste a similar menu? So I waited like several hours before I replied because quite frankly, I just don't really see why that's any of her concern. So I said, sorry for the late reply. I got distracted. I did taste a similar menu. The other caterer is blah, blah, blah. Again, not saying names for privacy reasons. And I said, I just need a few more days to decide. In all reality, I had already made my decision. And I was buying myself some time because I needed to hear the caterer that I really liked. I needed his price. So I didn't want to rush and tell the other caterer no until I knew for sure that my caterer was going to come correct price-wise. So she said, no worries, let me know if I can help with anything. I know I'm a little biased because I've worked with so-and-so for years and I've never heard about this other caterer. Clearly throwing a lot of shade because I'm like, girl, you're not going to know of every single caterer in the area. That's not possible. And it highly depends on who your clientele is, what kind of food they like, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously you're not going to know about everybody. So I kind of was like, okay, girl, whatever. So I said, understood. I'll let you know. Okay. So here's the real tea. Here's the moment that you've all been waiting for. Okay. So meanwhile, I remembered that this individual's daughter, who is an overgrown woman, I might add, I think she's maybe in her mid-30s or late 30s. Her daughter does flowers, right? So, it had already been decided that I would reach out to her daughter to find out what she envisioned, if she was able to do the kind of flowers that I want, just to consider her, put her in the running for my florist. So I reach out to the daughter and I'm like, hey, this is so-and-so. I just wanted to reach out to see if you'd be interested in potentially being my florist. If you have any examples of your work, et cetera, et cetera. So I noticed that she doesn't respond, right? So maybe 10 minutes after I send that message, I get a message from the coordinator, AKA the mother, and she says, her vision, just tell her you're at work and you can get back to her after you put your kid to bed. Or tell her your brother is talking about coming here that weekend, so you're not positive you're available. Now, I don't know if y'all caught that. But that came from the coordinator, not from the daughter. So I'm going to read it for y'all one more time in case y'all got lost. The coordinator said, her vision, just tell her you're at work and you can get back to her after your son goes to bed. Or tell her your brother is talking about coming here that weekend, so you're not positive you're available. Clearly, that message was not for little old me, okay? So I don't say anything because this is messy. I don't say anything. I wait to see if either of them are going to try to rectify the situation because she just dug herself a grave real fast. So I waited, it says timestamp here. I waited 3 hours, you guys. I waited 3 hours before I replied. And I said, I don't believe this text was meant for me. However, if it's in regards to me reaching out to so-and-so about flowers, don't worry about it. If she's not interested, that's not a problem. So she responds and said, no, it wasn't. Sorry. She's just not sure of her work events yet because it's too far in advance. I'm sure she'll reach out to you. So then she sends me another text right after that one that says, my response, no, it wasn't. Sorry. She's just not sure of her work events yet. So I'm like, lady, are you slow? Like, she does it twice, y'all. So the first time was when she texted me what she was supposed to text her daughter. The second time, she's in contact with her daughter, filling her in on what's happening, and was like, oh, let me just try to let you know what she's saying so that you can kind of like gauge what you're going to say. Y'all, if you haven't caught it, I don't tell y'all, but it's messy. So she says, I did it again. I'm horrible at this texting shit. So then she said, she did call me, as in her daughter, left me a message, told me she's in meetings, so I responded by texting her back instead of calling. She should be leaving work shortly and she can speak for herself. I said, I see. Like I said, it's not an issue. I get it. If she has work commitments, that's fine. She doesn't have to call or anything. So she calls me, the coordinator, right after I send that text. She calls me and she's like, oh no, it's not like that. I don't want you to think that it's not like that. You know, she would love to do your flowers. You know, it's not like that at all. You know, there was just a, miscommunication and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, girl, like the ship sailed so long ago, like it's not even funny. Like this conversation is so far over, like I don't even know what else to say. Like this is done. So basically, y'all, that's what happened. I think if I remember correctly, her daughter did call me. If she didn't call me, she texted me. We had a very, 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 very brief conversation because clearly we both knew that this wasn't gonna work. And also I did get the caterer that I wanted. And, ever since then, I never heard a word from my alleged coordinator who I basically fired. I never came out and told her you're fired. I just cut off all communication. And clearly she got the hint because she never reached out to me ever again. So there's that. I did hire a new coordinator. So far, she has been excellent to work with. But, I just say all this to say that sometimes, it pays to proofread and to double check your text. I think most people have made that mistake where they have sent a text to the wrong person. But, sometimes you really need to take that extra 2 seconds and double check the name and top before you hit send so that you don't end up looking like a fool. But yeah, I don't believe anybody should tell you who or what to use for your wedding because it's your money and you have a right to choose who you want. I think that this all stemmed from her being upset that I didn't choose her caterer. And I think, she just really felt some sort of way about that. And so as a result, she was like, well, if you're not going to use my caterer, you're not going to use my daughter for your flowers and blah, 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 which I'm like, girl, you know how many florists there are? Like, again, none of this was affecting me or my wedding. It just made her look a certain way. So I'm just like, girl, it's not that deep. Unless you're offering to pay, I don't know what to tell you. So that is it. Thanks for watching. I hope this was an entertaining story for y'all. If not, I apologize. I tried. My life really isn't that funny. But I just thought I would share this story to kind of take a break from all the nonsense going on in the world. Thanks for watching.